Hi, hello, David here. America has an extremely weird relationship with Formula One, and I just wanted to talk about this because it seems like America, in just a span of a few years, completely accepted the sport or completely denied it. There's two sides of the story here in the United States that I've noticed about Formula One. The one side is it's completely unrelatable. I don't care. I'll never be inside a Formula One car on track. I'll never get to drive one. I'll never get to do anything with one. It's just too expensive to keep up with. The other side is wow, this is basically real life pod racing and I want to be involved into the drama of each driver and know everything about them.
Nothing, just an incident.
And also just the attitude towards this sport in general is so fascinating to me because the fan bases are so crazy on social media. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Even when people do blatantly stupid things or are guilty of saying things that are completely untrue. So if you're not into Formula One at all, here's a little crash course. Essentially, Formula One, this global sport, uses a formula that everybody needs to abide to when they build these cars. It's the regulation. The thing that I've noticed as an outsider American getting into Formula One is the complete double standard that people justify for the driver that they follow. And that's why when people ask me who my favorite driver is, because I am very into Formula One nowadays, I don't really have a clear answer, which is not very fair, but it's because everybody has their flaws and everybody has their thing and their fan bases are crazy. Let's take an example, Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, Red Bull's crazy driver with an insane record nowadays. Sure, the other cars have finally caught up to him, but for a while he was absolutely dominant, winning races with a 20-second plus lead, which in Formula One is an eternity. So everybody started hating on Max Verstappen, probably because Red Bull has this kind of sense of arrogance to them due to like Christian Horner and stuff like that.
You've got a problem, change your car.
Then you change your car because Checo has been saying the car is
But Max Verstappen is an undeniably good driver. It's undeniable. Yes, his car was very, very, very fast. But there's a reason why there's not a teammate that can keep up with him. It just doesn't really happen. And as we're talking right now, Checo Perez, we don't know what his fate is, even though he had a signed contract. Yet Lewis Hamilton, who has one of the craziest fan bases I've ever seen, he was just as dominant, if not more dominant, for years and years and years. And I think a big part of it is that Verstappen kind of won for a very kind of weird reason in 2021. But Lewis Hamilton had a dominant car with Mercedes, he was a dominant driver, and he's undeniably talented. The weirdest argument to me is when you have this Max versus Lewis argument. Is that they go, oh, well, it's just the car. What? No, it can't just be the car. The driver has to be competent. They have to be good to take corners at 190 plus miles an hour and not be Lance Stroll. Speaking of Lance Stroll, if you don't know, he's the son of a billionaire who bought out the Aston Martin team, and there's pretty much no way that he's ever going to lose his seat in F1, no matter how many crashes he causes. He's absolutely spoiled, he takes no accountability, yet people still defend him, which is crazy. In Formula 3, his dad bought out the team he was on and even got team orders of his teammate to literally let Lance Stroll pass him. His teammate was doing better than him. So mommy and daddy's race team and their coordinator said, hey, let Lance pass. That would not happen in pretty much any other racing series. The only time you would let somebody pass is if you're just blatantly slower, right? Hey, your teammate's feeling better today, let him go by, let's get these points. With this case with Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso is a better driver than Lance Stroll, and Lance Stroll's never gonna lose his seat, and he causes a collision like every time he goes out, because he has no situational awareness, but he stays on the team because of money. And yes, motorsports has always had a ton of money. That's never been a thing that's been a mystery. But in F1, I think for a lot of Americans who come from other racing series like NASCAR and even IMSA, IMSA is still a lot of money, But if you have talent, you can make your way there. For Formula One, if you're not starting in a go-kart at age 3 or whatever, you're not going to Formula One. There's almost no way you're going to Formula One. So there's this sense of unrelatability, I think, in a lot of Americans who watch F1, because they go, it's just a rich boy's playground, right? That's how they kind of see it. But at the same time, I think a lot of people are getting into the sport because of that reality TV show aspect, because there's only 20 drivers to keep up with. You know the backstory of every single driver. You know what they're going through or the secret talks that's going on. It's exciting to watch a story unfold. And that's what Formula One feels like. While other racing series feels much more like kind of just the competitive edge and the rawness of being a race car driver, Formula One feels like a story. It feels like a movie that just keeps on giving, because you never know what's going to happen. The drama of crashing, the cars are so fragile that if they tap each other, they're over. There was a controversial crash just the other day between Max and Lando, and they were just fighting it out. Lando was dive bombing, Max was making some defensive maneuvers, and the blame was never on both of them. In my opinion, both of them made mistakes. But since it's such a big thing to have skin in the game for your favorite driver, neither side, people who loved Lando or people who loved Max, would give it up. They would never admit it, right? They're like, no, your guy's wrong. No, my guy's wrong. It's like a political party, like, geez. But yeah, it's just a really fascinating thing to see nowadays. And I think out of all the racing series to keep up with, it is very exciting. It's very cool to see. Plus, there is an American team, Haas, but man, oh man, do they always have some bad luck. It's like seeing a train wreck half the time. But when you see them succeed at all, it's extremely exciting. Of course, the one American driver on the grid completely crashes every single race too, almost. However, Formula One really tried to get their foot into the United States several times unsuccessfully. But one of the times is when they had their race at Indianapolis. And this was the days where you could not change your tires, which is very bizarre. Stupid rule in my opinion. But during that era, you had 2 different tire manufacturers at the time. You had Michelin and you had Bridgestone. And at Indianapolis, for whatever reason, the Michelins kept popping on the surface at the Indianapolis racetrack, but the Bridgestones were working. This is mostly because Firestone owns Bridgestone and they run the Indy 500. So they had the data to deal with this racetrack and the rough surface of it. And it created this whole thing. Long story short, people boycotted the race and only a few people raced. Everybody paid tickets to come see this race. It got a really bad reputation in the United States, basically not coming back for a very long time. Now there's 3 races in the United States. You have COTA, Miami, and also Las Vegas. So the big turn is obviously one, Drive to Survive. The reality show style drama behind it gets people very fixated in it. But anyway, I just thought today would be a really laid back video talking about Formula One, because it's one of those things where people seem to not be able to see both sides of it. Like, just appreciate it for what it is. It can be considered the pinnacle of motorsport, unless you're a rally fan. Rally's crazy. But it could be seen as the pinnacle of motorsport, of high-speed driving. But it's also so expensive to be into. The culture is an expensive culture. Like Monaco, very glitz and glamour and bougie. Monaco is the most out-of-place city I've ever been in. I felt completely out of place, but it was still cool to see where legendary moments happened. And I think also it can be overwhelming getting into a motorsport that you don't know much about. You have to read up in history and see the rivalries of the past and why they matter now. But when a driver is dominant, it is so absurd to think that since your guy was dominant for so long, that was okay. But when somebody else comes along that you don't like and they're dominant, all of a sudden it's cheating. Or all of a sudden it's whatever. It's just very bizarre. But yeah, a lot of my friends in my circle just aren't really that into it. Right, they're much more into the grassroots stuff like drifting, and which is funny because Formula Drift is extraordinarily expensive to run, but it's not at an F1 level, obviously. Like on a good day, you're spending 100 to 200 grand a season for FD, excuse me, not Formula One. But just from external thoughts about F1, from somebody who got into it about 5-6 years ago, watched the Senna documentary, and then I was hooked, right? Guys, put it down in the comment section below. What do you think of Formula One? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think it's too inexpensive? accessible for people. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Put it down in the comment section below. On that note, upload typically Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. See you guys next time. Have a good one.